Back to the Federal Bureau. We noticed that in this period the Consumers Association had a great deal to make this bureau start. Is it a new deal for the United States Consumers Association, or is it an old way of thinking to act together to have a great success, maybe?
Well, I think the idea of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has a lot of promise. Of course, what you discuss in theory and what actually happens in practice can be two different things. And before it has even opened up, it's impossible to prejudge what will happen. What must happen, though, is that there needs to be a strong head of the Consumer Protection Bureau who is able to go to bat for consumers. Otherwise, we might return to the prior days where consumers were the low priority, and the financial agencies will cater again to the banks and the insurance companies, the credit card companies and whatnot.
Okay, so back to plastics.
Yes.
In Italy there are many problems with revolving cards.
Yes.
The revolving system. Do you think that the problem is in the instrument itself or in its usage? Should be prohibited the emission of revolving card. In Italy we had several problems with American Express, who is blocked under a authority decision. So I don't know if it's better to think that revolving should be not on the market or should be used better.
I'm not aware of exactly what the situation is in Italy, but I can speak to the problems in the United States, where in credit cards you have a situation which the Credit Card Act, it's called the Card Act, that was passed a year ago, actually back in 2009, was designed to eliminate some of the most reprehensible practices of the credit card companies, where people found themselves in double billing cycles. If they were 1 minute late on the payment, their interest rate went from 12.99% to 29.99%. Incredible jumps. Or the credit card company, even if you weren't late, could just decide it was going to change the terms of the agreement. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was speaking about before, this potential for a unilateral modification of the terms. So the credit card company would say, as long as they gave you 45 days notice, okay, your new rate is going to be 21.99% instead of your old rate of 11.99%. These are the ways that consumers get ripped off. And the problem is that a lot of times they don't even know it. There's nothing that they did that triggered this problem. There are the problems, as you asked it, in terms of usage. Yes, people are putting expenses on their credit card bills just to make ends meet, in large part because we've had an economic crisis where you had double-digit unemployment, which is unusual for the United States, but a lot of people have been out of work. And as a consequence, they're putting gas and groceries and their medical bills, and we discussed before how the United States medical system, a lot of people, they have to pay for it, and so how do they pay for it? They borrow. And as a consequence, they find themselves in a spiraling debt situation, which has gotten out of control.
Thanks. So the last question is about the youth people. In Italy, youth people has difficulty access to financial instruments, even for a big startup or for a loan. What is the situation in the USA today?
In terms of young people and their access to...
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times the credit card companies want to hook young people on the usage of credit cards, so they make an introductory teaser and make it easy for people to start using plastic, and then and finding that they're borrowing beyond their means. So there are some organizations that have been working to try to educate young people, especially students going off to college or university, and experiencing the use of the credit card without mom or dad looking over their shoulder and putting a variety of bills on it, and then understanding how interest works. So there has been a lot of discussion about financial literacy education and the need for that in the United States. On the other hand, there have been behavioral economists who've said that, well, some financial and lawyers who've studied this, that financial literacy doesn't necessarily work, because you may know the rational terms of the credit card or some other a loan or a mortgage, a student loan, for example, and not necessarily make your decisions based on the rational terms. You buy this cell phone because your Uncle Charlie has that kind of cell phone, or you see that people have put your colleagues have put various expenses on their credit card, and then you do too, not understanding that if you don't pay it off at the end of the month or at the end of the billing cycle, you're going to have a spiraling debt situation. So young people have to learn how these tools work, but we also have to make it much more easy for people of all ages to understand how these tools work. Otherwise, what happens is you get into a tremendous amount of personal debt, and that's caused quite a bit of crisis.
Many thanks.
Thank you.